the star of Live with Kelly and Mark Kelly Ripa, revealed that her transition was aided by her fear of losing her job. But what was she switching to? And did she ultimately lose her job? To learn more about Kelly's frightening experience, continue reading. Kelly Ripa discusses how her transition was aided by her fear of being fired. Kelly Ripa has been a co-host of Live for more than 20 years. After replacing Kathy Lee Gifford, she began working alongside Regis Philbin before being joined by Ryan Seacrest and Michael Strahan. In the end, Kelly's new co-host was Mark Consuelos, her husband and a former co-star on All My Children. He had occasionally stepped in when called upon. But now that they were back together, their relationship was forever. After filming in the same location for almost 40 years, the show recently relocated studios, which was a significant milestone. When they momentarily split up in 1996, this studio and program helped them get back together. Saying farewell to the original studio was quite painful, but Kelly was able to change and grow. The primary cause was her fear of losing her position as Haley at AMC. She had no intention of leaving the now-defunct soap show because she truly enjoyed her employment there. Kelly Ripa expressed her satisfaction with her new home. But Mark Consuelos, who portrayed Mateo on AMC, revealed that turnover is rapid. There isn't much security because new hires can be fired in as little as 3 months. Mark was constantly considering his next career move, and eventually his wife learned to separate herself. A little assistance from friends. Kelly Ripa admitted that she received tips on how to be a working actor from an older soap opera star. They warned her against being attached to her workplace. She was advised to adjust to her current situation because nothing lasts forever, and she was aware that the live studio was no exception. She needed to be able to get up and leave because anything could happen, including the space. Although they were upset about the departure, fans of the long-running program were eager to create new memories. Lola, the daughter of Kelly Ripa, was split up because she was packing the dressing room. That's when Kelly revealed that she wasn't attached. Do you see Kelly's point of view, or is it overly negative? When you've been a beloved daytime television host for over 2 decades, you'd think job security would be the last thing on your mind. But for Kelly Ripa, the iconic, quick-witted co-host of Live, fear has been both a shadow and a secret motivator. In a recent candid conversation on air, Ripa stunned fans by revealing that her long-held fear of being fired was not only real, but also instrumental in shaping the woman and powerhouse host she is today. It was during a reflective moment on Live with Kelly and Mark that the topic of career transitions came up. As the audience leaned in, expecting a light-hearted anecdote, Kelly's tone shifted. "People think I've always had it together," she said with a self-deprecating laugh. "But I spent the first 10 years of my job convinced I was going to be fired every day." The studio fell silent. Even Mark, who is not just her co-host but her husband, looked surprised. "I'm serious," she continued. "That fear haunted me. But weirdly, it also saved me." The early days. Imposter syndrome in a designer dress. Back in 2001, Kelly Ripa took over as co-host of Live alongside the legendary Regis Philbin. The shoes were enormous. The pressure? Immense. I was 30. I was terrified. I wasn't classically trained in journalism. I didn't come from a broadcast background. I came from All My Children, Kelly recalled. I kept thinking someone would tap me on the shoulder and say, "Oops, we meant someone else." Though her bubbly personality and razor-sharp comedic timing quickly won viewers over, Kelly privately struggled with what she now calls crippling imposter syndrome. Every time a producer paused after a segment, I thought it was because they were about to say, "That's it, you're done." So I over-prepared. I studied everything. I memorized ad-libs. Can you imagine? I practiced sounding spontaneous. The audience laughed, but there was a depth beneath the humor. Fear as fuel. Kelly's fear of failure became her secret weapon. Rather than paralyze her, it pushed her to adapt. I started watching tapes of myself. Not because I liked it, I hated it, but because I wanted to know what I was doing wrong, she said. I learned the rhythms, the jokes that landed, the ones that fell flat. I even studied Regis. That man was a master of timing. She also leaned heavily on the crew behind the scenes, asking questions and learning every technical aspect of the show. From lighting setups to teleprompter pacing, she became a student of daytime television. I didn't just want to be good enough. I wanted to make sure that if they ever did replace me, it would be really, really hard to do. Over time, that intensity transformed into confidence, not the flashy, red carpet kind, but a quiet certainty in her own worth. Transitioning with the times. Perhaps the most pivotal period of Kelly's journey came when Regis retired and the show entered a new era. Co-hosts came and went, the dynamic shifted, and the industry itself changed. Audiences, ratings, formats. But through it all, Kelly adapted. I'd always tell people, if you want to survive in television, you have to be like water. You have to flow, reshape, and sometimes evaporate and come back as rain, she said, smiling. Her biggest transformation, she admits, wasn't on screen. It was internal. There was a moment, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, where I finally stopped operating from fear. I started operating from belief. Belief in myself, in my voice, in my seat at the table. That was when I really started to enjoy the job. It was during that same period she began stepping into more production roles behind the camera, advocating for crew recognition, and even mentoring younger women in television. The fear never fully disappears, she confessed. But now it's like a little whisper in the corner, not a scream in my ear. And that whisper, it keeps me sharp. The power of vulnerability. Kelly's revelation resonated with thousands of fans who took to social media to thank her for her honesty. Many shared their own experiences with imposter syndrome and how fear shaped their careers. Kelly Ripa talking about fear of being fired made me feel seen. One fan tweeted, "Success doesn't always look fearless. Sometimes it looks like showing up every day even when you're terrified." Mental health advocates also praised Kelly's openness. Dr. Lena Mahoney, a psychologist who works with women in high-pressure careers, called the moment a breakthrough. Kelly Ripa just dismantled the myth that high achievement equals high confidence, Mahoney wrote in a post. She showed us that fear can coexist with brilliance, and even drive it. Mark's take. On the show the next day, Mark Consuelos chimed in with his own take on his wife's confession. "I didn't know the extent of it," he said, looking at Kelly with admiration. "You're so good at what you do. I just assumed you knew that." Kelly shrugged. "I didn't. Not for a long time. But I do now." The audience applauded, not just for the chemistry between the couple, but for the courage behind her words. A lesson in resilience. In an industry often obsessed with perfection and poise, Kelly Ripa's admission of fear stands out as a lesson in resilience. She didn't let fear define her, but she did let it drive her, at least until she found something stronger. Self-worth. "I look back now," she said, "and I don't see failure or fear. I see a woman who cared so deeply about doing her best. She was willing to work through the panic. That's not weakness. That's power." And in sharing that truth, Kelly Ripa once again proved why she remains a cornerstone of daytime television, not just for her humor or her hosting chops, but for her heart. As the cameras zoomed out and the lights dimmed on another live broadcast, viewers weren't just left with laughs or celebrity gossip. They were left with something deeper. The idea that fear doesn't have to be the end of the story. Sometimes, it's just the beginning of a powerful transformation. Please share your opinions in the comments section below.